if you're a housing provider or a landlord or small real estate investor in Colorado and you're having trouble renting out your property, you're not alone. It's a hard to rent market. And we get a lot of potential people calling our office to say, hey, I can't sell my property. I think I want you guys to manage it for me for a period of time, and then I'll sell it when the sales market improves. But in the meantime, I'm wondering if maybe we should just do a short-term lease. I'm having trouble renting it. So maybe the solution is to do a short 6-9 month lease term. And will that help me get it rented faster? And then I have more flexibility. And it's a very valid thought, but we wanted to answer a couple questions around this concept to help you as a landlord or real estate investor make the best decisions possible on how to rent out your property. So the first question we get is, will it help me attract more applicants? If I advertise a short term, will that attract more applicants' interest in the property and get it rented faster? And the answer very clearly is no. Absolutely not. It will reduce the number of interested parties. See, what we know is that applicants typically want stability. They don't want 6 months. They want to plant somewhere to be for a long time. Now you say, well, what about those people that are in transition housing? And yes, there are some of those, but very limited. For every one person who's looking for a 6-month rental, there's 25 looking for the longer term. And you want to appeal to the biggest and broadest base pool possible, which is people looking for long-term rentals. So it's not going to help you attract a larger pool of people. Secondly, we say, well, will that help me out with my rental rate? If I'm offering short term, does that give me more pricing power in the rental rate that I advertise? And that also is no, absolutely not. People will pay a premium for long-term lock-in. If they're going to have to take a short-term lease, 6 months, that makes them, the renter, typically uncomfortable. And they're going to expect a discount to come into a short-term lease because their thought is, well, gosh, the landlord's probably going to kick me out in 6 months. Maybe they've decided to sell it. I don't want to move. Moving is hard. And so you have less pricing power on that. Now, another question we get is, yeah, but if I do a 6 month, can I increase the rent after that 6 month period on my tenant? And the answer is maybe. But keep in mind that in Colorado law says you may only increase rent on any tenancy one time in any 12-month period. It doesn't matter if you're a month-to-month lease on the beginning. You can't think, well, every 4 months I'm going to bump the rent up $5. You can't do that. That would be illegal. You can only increase the rent, regardless of the lease term, one time in any 12-month period in Colorado. And in Colorado, we're seeing rents flat to declining in most property types. So you don't have a lot of pricing power as a landlord housing provider. You want tenants who are going to stick around and stay and not move. It helps you avoid the biggest expense, which is turnover you experience as a landlord. The next question we'll sometimes get is, yeah, but with that short-term lease, I've heard that by not having a 12-month lease, it gives me more flexibility to kind of navigate these things which are called just cause eviction rules. And this gets a little bit complicated, but in Colorado, what is called a just cause eviction is what we used to think of as just a non-renewal. Your lease is up at the end of 12 months. I'm sorry, Mr. Tenant, I'm going to do something else with the property. I'm not going to renew you. You can't do that in Colorado any longer. There's only, I believe it's 6 reasons that you may non-renew a tenant any longer. And it's not called a non-renewal. It's called a just cause eviction. And this is a very complicated topic. We've done videos on it. You can go back and search for that. But the law says if your lease is less than 12 months, so if it's an 11-month lease, then at the end of the term of the lease, you don't have to follow those just cause eviction rules. You can just decide, hey, I want my property back. I'm going to non-renew your lease, and I don't have to follow the same terms. Now, this is not legal advice. Check with your attorney. Understand the nuances there. But the answer to that is maybe, because those laws are very complicated and there are timeline triggers depending on the length of the lease, on the length of notice to vacate you have to give the tenant. It gets very complicated and very complex. So don't just think that by having a short-term lease you can avoid all of that. You have to still play within the rules of that aspect. The final question is really, will it be easier to rent? And the absolute answer is no. It will not be easier to rent. It's going to sit on the market longer. It's going to attract less interest. The rent's going to be more depressed. It's going to make it harder. So the solution to your hard-to-rent property is not to reduce the length of term. Now, if you're planning on selling the property in 6 months, our recommendation is just sell it now. because you're going to take a month to get it rented. Tenant's going to move in. You think you're going to move them out in 6 months. They might do a little bit of wear and tear on the property, and with new deposit return laws, you can't charge as much as you think you probably can on some of those things. So you might have to fix it up, and the sales market probably isn't going to strengthen a whole lot in the next 6 months to sell it at that point in time. Now, what can you do? If you can't sell market, the solution isn't to offer a shorter term lease. Let me give you 5 quick solutions on what you can do to absolutely improve the time it's going to take you to rent your property. Number 1 is location. Now, you can't control that other than if you're truly an investor, sell that property and buy a property that is in a different location. If you look at average rental rates, you'll see things like Aurora, year over year, rents are down in the high single-digit percentage points. They're down, I believe it was 6.5% year over year. In other submarkets, rents are up. So the location's very important if you're a long-term investment. Second, property type. Ideally, as an investor, you want single-family rental properties. More stability, tenants move less, they're quicker to rent, you have everything going in your favor versus a condo, townhome, multifamily. Now that's a longer conversation, but generally speaking, single-family homes make for better long-term investments with less turnover. The quality of the property is something you can control. Make sure it's fresh and clean, and the paint's good, and the carpet is clean, and the property is cleaned, and it shines and sparkles. Make sure the quality is high, and then at the end of the day, it's about price. If you can't get the property rented, you may have to make a significant and aggressive price reduction. That's what's happening right now. Colorado is the second to last in the nation of the top 100 cities, second to last in price increases because prices are going down. Year over year in Denver, prices are down about 5%. That's just the reality of where we're at in this market. So therefore, you have to be competitive in your pricing. And lastly, we talk about it a fair amount, you need to allow pets. If you're saying no pets, you are cutting your potential market dramatically. If you want to improve and increase the number of inquiries about your rental property, make sure it matches all of these criteria. If we can be a resource, reach out to us. If you're a current owner client of Grace Management, we're doing these things for you already. But if we can be a resource, jump on our website, rentgrace.com. Happy to be a resource if we're able.